732 has finally arrived at the Dota 2 doorstep, and not a moment too soon. 731 has been one of the longest running patches in Dota history, so it's refreshing to finally see new and exciting content hit the main client. There's quite a bit to cover, but I want to give a brief overview of what this patch has in store for you, as well as some predictions of my own. Bear in mind this video is a rather quick summary of things I think are rather noteworthy and people should bite their teeth into. On the other hand, if you are into Dota 2 ASMR, there is a purge carriage out there that has you all covered. With that said, let's open up our books and get to cramming. Let's start all the way from the top of the list. We have some very interesting and juicy changes here, so let's dig in. The XP change to the game is undoubtedly the biggest game changer this entire patch. The game in general is going to be quite a bit slower as a result of it. As you can see on the picture, it will on average take you 7 more minutes to reach level 20, where level 25 takes an additional 12. These are crazy numbers in a game of Dota 2. On that same note, XP from streaks has been buffed yet again. In layman terms, for this, if you're lower than a 4 streak, it's less than before, 4 is the same, and anything above 4 is a big penalty. Next one is one of my favorites, flag bearer creeps. I didn't know what to think about them at the start, but the more I played with them, the more I think I like them. Every minute, starting at minute 2, one of the melee creeps associated with every lane will spawn a flag bearer that gives double gold, has a +3 health regen to allies, and any allied hero in 1200 radius will get kill gold for the creep as well. What's interesting about flag bearer is that it's another heat target on lane. Prior to its introduction, it was all about range creep, denied out multiple times, and you're on the fast track to winning the lane. With flag bearer being in the mix, there are now 2 targets you'd like to make sure the enemy doesn't get. What's even more, if you do keep your own bearer alive, you get quite a nice amount of health for doing so. What's also interesting is that the flag bearer has 40% magic resistance. This might seem random, but there's no doubt in my mind that this is a buff to physical damage heroes on lane. Range creep getting killed by a Fate Bolt or Crystal Nova was so very common. This 40% resistance is there to buff both physical supports and give the core player more of a reason to assist with denying and or keeping the bearer alive. Small camp removal on both sides. This might not seem like too much, but don't get me wrong, this is massive and I've already felt it tremendously in my pub games. A lot of mid players were adopting the playstyle of just spam creep wave and then go jungle. If you've ever played against Coddle mid, you know exactly what I'm talking about. By them removing the small camp from both sides, it isn't just a nerf to the amount of farm on the map, but also how swiftly the mid player can double tap into extra gold from creeping neutrals. While it is a bit too early to say, my personal prediction is that we should be seeing mid players play more aggressively. If you can't farm up a lead as easily as before, you can be active and help your side lanes. The glyph change is a really nice change. It wasn't uncommon before that you were pushing for tier 3, someone on your team would randomly take a tier 1, only for the enemy to get a glyph as a result of it. This change kind of streamlines glyphs a bit more, only activating once for each tier tower, 1, 2 and 3 respectively. Lastly, the 15% gold per minute decrease. While this might not seem like much, remember that they in recent patches have buffed gold per minute quite a lot. This 15% decrease no doubt also has something to do with the introduction of flag bearers in the first place, which count as an additional gold gain for everyone. On average though, expect to have quite a bit less gold on the average game of Dota 2. This is also something that tends to prolong the game time. Alright. With general changes out of the way, let's swiftly go over items and neutral item changes of note. Right out of the gate, one of the more noticeable ones is BKB now having its activation cost actually be 50 mana. While this might not seem like a big deal, there are certainly situations where you can lock down an enemy hero, drain them, and make sure that they can't get off a BKB as a result. Especially heroes such as Phantom Lancer and Anti-Mage can really make good use out of this. Glimmer Cape is another item worth mentioning, 50 cast range, 5% more magic resistance, and a 0.1 faster fade time. These are some pretty good buffs for an already good item. What's more, there's no additional cost or item involved in acquiring the item, so this is just a straight up buff to most supports that run Glimmer in the first place. Midas. Ah yes, how could we not? The Arlington Major Special. They actually didn't nerf Midas, but gave it a rather interesting buff. It might not seem like much, but this essentially makes it much faster for your team to acquire neutral items. This can be incredibly important when you're trying to hit specific timings in regards to your heroes and playstyle as a team. This can also be super helpful in games where you find yourself choked for farm. It's not unusual to be in a 37-minute game and be unable to reliably farm your neutral items. If you do have Midas in a game like that, you can now at least rather reliably snatch one every time it's off cooldown. Mask, Morbid, Satanic, essentially all lifesteal items have had quite a significant reduce in power when it comes to creep farming. On average, it's not going to really hurt too much if you're just jungling, but for an example, if you're Faceless Void in laning stage and you have a Morbid Mask you plan to turn into a Mask of Madness, you're seeing a lifesteal decrease down to 9% from a former 15% in the last patch. It is interesting to note that with the nerf to these items, it subsequently means any heroes that has lifesteal built into their kit has been buffed as a result. Wraith King, Lone Raid, and yes, Phantom Assassin. On the neutral item side of things, I have two new ones in particular I want to mention. First, Specialist's Array. The downside of this item is that Crackshot is a range-only effect, so depending on your lineup, it can be quite average. On the other hand, just about any other range core out there will benefit tremendously from this item. In a team fight, you'll quickly do a bit more damage. And when you're not busy fighting, it essentially turns into a small Medusa split shot every 12 seconds. Really good for farming, combined with top-notch stats. Last is Dagger of Ristol. This one is a bit more specific and special, but there's definitely going to be edge cases where this item is absolutely bonkers. Put this on any hero that can mitigate the 100 health cost with ease, and you essentially get 40 plus damage for nothing, plus 10 passive attack speed. It's crazy. The newly changed Phantom Assassin will get such a swing in power from an item like this. Broodmother with her buff shard or something like an alchemist, I predict Ristol is going to be a pretty polarizing neutral item. And at last, heroes. I'm going to go over the hero changes I think are the most interesting coming into 732. Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage has received one hell of a buff in this patch, from the extended game time to the actual direct buffs he received as well. Expect to see more of him, and for him to be a bigger problem. His Aghanims is still, let's just say, lackluster. His Blink mana cost, however, makes playing him feel like a dream. Brewmaster. While this one was clearly justified, as a lover of Brewmaster, this still really hurts. His Aghanim Refresher combo has been effectively removed from the game entirely. While Primal Companion is a really neat idea, there's not a single doubt in my mind that it's objectively worse than what we had before. Here's hoping they just buff him fundamentally as a hero soon. His laning stage could use some pluses. Broodmother. I recently made a guide on Broodmother and how you should be playing her with Aghanim Scepter, and while this certainly still works, what's interesting here is that her shard was changed completely. This does nerf Brood's playstyle at a distance. The upside though is that she can actually scale into a carry hero now. Insatiable Hunger grows progressively stronger the longer you've been affected by it. You're essentially ending up with well over 150 plus bonus physical damage on your right clicks. We might very well see a return of Carry Brood before too long. Centaur Warrunner. Clinks. Bone Boy is back on the menu, and hot damn if he isn't coming in with a Fury. Clink's ability to be a lane dominator is top notch due to Searing Arrows being an orb attack, and now that he scales a lot better into mid-late game, you really can push his power as a carry. There's a reason why his win rate has skyrocketed recently. It's due to how bonkers Burning Barrage ends up being. Dawnbreaker. While not inherently too interesting change-wise, I wanted to include her because I think they dropped the ball on this one. The Dawnbreaker changes aren't nearly enough, and she's still way too much of a powerhouse. But hey, praise the sun, am I right? Disruptor. I haven't seen too many people talking about this, but I think Disruptor's Glimpse got a massive buff. This change effectively makes him that much stronger against heroes with a Blink Dagger due to the damage it now applies on arrival. Thunderboy hasn't been good for quite a while, so this is a strong step in the right direction. Huskar. Some powerful buffs all around to Huskar. Not too much to say here other than he's certainly back yet again. If you hate playing against Huskar and the momentum he brings to a team, now's a good time to consistently try and ban him out in the picking screen. He's going to be an MMR winner. Marcy. Oh no. Poor baby girl, no. Whereas Dawnbreaker wasn't nerfed enough, Marcy got the old Yeller treatment, taken behind the shed and promptly disposed of. Marcy is significantly weaker than she was before, all around in fact. The biggest change is how Rebound is now the ability that stuns while Dispose is only a slow. This makes Marcy so much worse in general. To think we went from Rebound working on enemy heroes to this. How the mighty have fallen. Monkey King. Quick shout out to the king himself. While I don't think he's going to perform all that well in pubs, I still think the Boundless Shard is super fun to play with. As an added note, I did some testing as the patch landed, and yes, you still gain the benefits of the old shard as far as the dodging stun is concerned. I don't know if this was an oversight from Valve or if it's intended, but shh, it'll be our little secret. Phantom Assassin. If you've played a single pub game since 732 has dropped, you've played against PA. I am certain of it. And for good reason too. The buff to her Phantom Strike is frankly massive. She used to be this hero that relied pretty heavily on RNG to get good payoff. Now that she has so much lifesteal going for her, she's actually generally terrifying in a prolonged fight. And she almost feels like an Urza ulting or a Huskar doing Huskar things. Watch out big time for her once she has BKB, she can be absolutely wild in 732. Puck. Much like Dawnbreaker, I'm seriously surprised that Marcy was the one that got prison shanked, but Dawn and Puck made it out just fine. Yeah, she's not as strong as she was before, but she's still as annoying as she ever was. Pudge. In a rather surprising turn of events, Pudge really wasn't nerfed all that much. The small nerfs he did receive can barely be felt, the most annoying one honestly being that it feels like you need a little bit more mana reading than before. If you play him with Wild Abandon, you can go just as crazy as any game before really. Rikimaru. The most noteworthy change here is the Agi multiplier being doubled on creeps. This means that Ricky can farm much more efficiently than before. If you have something like a Battle Fury or heck just an Aghanims, expect to see creeps absolutely vanish in the blink of an eye if you play him as a core. Ursa. Ursa remains strong yet, and with the added 15 talent of giving 2 stacks of Fury Swipes on hit targets, yeah, Ursa can be absolutely bonkers in mid game now. His power spike is somewhat offset by the reduced in XP, but still expect games against Ursa to quickly spin out of control if he's ahead. Viper. Viper was already strong before, so they kinda buffed him. Yeah, there are some nerfs in there, but his new ability Nosedive is goddamn scary. His playstyle hasn't really significantly changed, but the addition of his Aghanim skill just makes him that much scarier as a frontline tank with damage. Wind Ranger. Hey, would you look at that, they reintroduced her fun and annoying Aghanim Scepter back. This is no doubt going to be more of a pub item than a pro item. With that said though, you can be a serious pain in the ass once you've acquired it. You're completely invis as you're rapid firing arrows into the enemy, take care of the sentries around on the map, and you're going to be an absolute monster on the field. That was all the key points I wanted to cover in this patch. There's clearly a lot more there than what I went over, but I went through all the specific things I found specifically interesting for this patch. Got any questions, predictions, or musings about the patch? Shoot me a comment on the video and I'll get back to you as fast as I can. As always, thanks for watching, I hope you leave a like, a follow is also much appreciated. Thank you guys for being polite and positive about my previous video content. You can of course watch live at Twitch TV FabCubashi or expect new content every Saturday. Now how about you go out there and get some first-hand experience with 732? Like they say, there's no time like the present. Best of luck to you.